What's up, Creekside Youth? Okay, before we get started, this is Mr. Prey coming to you again this week by way of my selfie stick. Okay, I don't know if you kids have heard of those things. And also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I feel like it's been kind of trendy during quarantine to give your messages and talks from outside in nature. So not to be outdone by anyone, I'm coming to you today from a tree, and I'm actually in a tree. See, I'm sitting in a tree. Oh, see, I climbed up those sketchy ladders over top of a tire swing. Well, I don't know where that is. Anyway, I only have 10 minutes, but I just thought you guys would be really impressed. Sort of like a all natural kind of guy I am. Going dirt bike riding later today to show how all natural I am. Anyway, let's get to the Bible. So, thanks for watching. I super miss hanging out with you guys, but at least we get to kind of do sort of church like this. So we're back in John, and I'm teaching on John chapter 10. My beautiful wife taught last week about a similar story, and the book of John, as you guys might be starting to notice, kind of goes in chunks. And we spent, as a youth group, we probably spent maybe like 2 months at the Feast of Tabernacles, where Jesus was like, yeah, I'm God. And they're like, I don't know about this. And so that was a giant chunk. And then now this giant chunk that we've been into for a couple months is Jesus teaching. Remember, Jesus healed the guy who was blind. He like nasty spit on the ground, put mud in his eyes, and then the guy could see. And then the people were like, how do you see? And the guy was like, that guy Jesus fixed my eyes. And so that's the section we're in, is he had just done that a couple weeks ago. And if you see me looking down, it's because my Bible is on my lap and my notes. Where was I? Oh yeah. Okay, so he healed the man who was born blind. He fixed the guy's eyes, and then he said, for judgment I came into this world, that those who do not see might see. And so all of these, the Pharisees are getting kind of mad, and they're like, who is he? What are you talking about? And then Jesus transitions into his teaching. So he heals the guy, and he's like, look, I came in so that the people would see, who don't see would see. And this is when he goes into teaching mode. And last week, Carly talked about how Jesus said, I'm the good shepherd. I go through the door. My sheep know my name. I came that they may have life. And the Pharisees didn't like. So first of all, I don't want to skip this. I'm going to get to this after we read our passage. Anyway, that's kind of what Jesus has been saying, is he healed the man born blind. He said, I came into this world that they might see. And now he goes, look, I'm the shepherd. And so he's continually doing what John is doing, where this book was written to show that Jesus was the Christ and that in him we have life. And that's what he's telling us. So let me read our passage. It's John chapter 10, verse 11. So pause right now if you need to go to it in your Bible. Okay, are you there? You should have paused and got there. John 10, verse 11. We're going to go all the way through 21. I'm going to bring you closer. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them up and scatters them. He flees because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I'm the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life, that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from my Father. Then there was a division among the Jews because of these words. Many of them said, "He has a demon. He's insane. Why listen to him?" And others said, I'm adding that, because I assume that's what they were doing. They go, "These are not the words of one who is oppressed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind?" And that concludes this section of the blind guy. And I really like how that ends, because it ends with people going, "Who is this Jesus guy?" And so what I see in this passage that we just read are two things. Number one is, and I'm going to work them backwards. Number one is this stuff showing that Jesus is God on earth? And number two, if he is and we follow him, what does it mean for us to have him as our shepherd? So, number one, if you guys look at what the Pharisees should have picked up on, but they were blind and they didn't, were these Old Testament prophecies. Isaiah 40 verse 11 says, he will tend his flock like a shepherd. And this was written hundreds of years before Jesus was born. The prophet said, he will tend his flock like a shepherd. Ezekiel 34:23 says, and I will set up over them one shepherd. Again, written hundreds of years before, God is saying, I will set up a shepherd. He will tend his flock like a shepherd. Jesus comes and he says, I am the shepherd. Pretty big hint. And the Pharisees are like, let's go get a demon. You know, so they're not seeing who Jesus is saying who he is. Additionally, there were passages in the Old Testament about Jesus making blind people see. In Isaiah, it says, before I read that, do you guys remember when John the Baptist was wondering if Jesus was the Messiah? He sent his people over to him and said, hey, go check and see if this guy's the Messiah. And in typical Jesus fashion, instead of just saying, yeah, that's me, which I always am like, why don't you just answer like that? He said, tell him this. The eyes of the blind are open, the deaf hear, the lame walk. And what Jesus was doing was he was saying, look, this is what was prophesied about the Messiah, and I'm doing that. And so there's, in Isaiah 35:5, it says, the eyes of the blind shall be opened, the deaf will see, and the lame will walk, and a bunch of other stuff. And so in this passage, what do you know? A blind guy's eyes were opened. And what we're seeing is Jesus is unfolding some of the mystery and going, look, I am the Messiah that was promised. I really like how this passage ends, because it has people kind of scratching their heads and going, I don't, like, what's he saying? And some of them say he's crazy. And it's kind of similar to what happens in our world today. People go, yeah, Jesus was a kook, you know, I don't know if I believe in him. But we are stuck with the miracles he did, blind seeing, and we're stuck with him fulfilling these prophecies that were prophesied about him, and him going, look, I'm the shepherd, I'm gonna lay my life down. And when we're stuck going, you know what, I think he might have been who he said he was. You know, I think that confirms it. So that's one thing I love about this passage. And the second thing is that the passage talks about Jesus being our shepherd. And this is the end of Carly's teaching last week, was about how the shepherd watches out for his sheep and he gives his sheep abundant life. And in this passage, he spent almost the whole entire time talking about how he lays his life down for the sheep. Excuse me. As the good shepherd, he lays his life down for the sheep. And clearly he's, you know, foretelling what he's come to earth to do. He knows what he came to earth to do. He knows there's wolves that come in, and he's here to protect his sheep and lay down his life for his sheep. By the way, that's us, we're his sheep that he lays his life down for. And so what I think is cool about the shepherd analogy is you can go, what are all the things that a shepherd does for his sheep? And those are all the things that Jesus is saying, these are the things he does for us. He will lay down his life for us. He protects us. He feeds us. He takes care of us. He loves us. So I'm running out of time. This is going to be part of my action steps. Some of you probably know Psalm 23. Go read Psalm 23. It talks about, it's the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I think a lot of you have probably heard it. And then it talks about all the things that God does for us as a shepherd. He makes me lie down by green pastures. You know, he gives me all this stuff. He You know, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of coronavirus, I will not fear. Because he's with me. He's there to protect us. And no matter what we're going through, as our shepherd, God's there to protect us. So that's my encouragement this week, is read Psalm 23 and go, oh, Jesus is this shepherd for us. Like, what am I afraid of? What am I concerned about? Sorry, a song came into my mind, but I'm not gonna sing it. So anyway, that's the end. Thanks for watching. Remember, the book of John at the end says, but these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. And that's what this passage is. It says, look, Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and he's your shepherd, and he gives you abundant life in his name. Okay, thanks for watching. So my action steps are, read the action steps. Whoa, read the action steps right over there, or maybe over there, one side of your screen or the other. Read those action steps. Just take a look at them. One of the action steps is read Psalm 23. So make sure you do that. And then there's a couple worship songs. Of course, there's an Apologetix song at the end, okay? It's a parody of Gangsta's Paradise, okay? Remember, you guys know that song? Been spending most our lives living in the Gangsta's Paradise. I'm pretty ghetto. Okay, bye guys. Bye from the tree. Whoa! Just kidding, I didn't fall.